I was just going to apologise for Julian's absence to everyone. He's gone to another meeting tonight, so Kay and I are holding the fort. And just to let you all know, please, just like on the telly, please do not swear. We are all being recorded for Julian's benefit. So
as if I would swear, honestly, Mrs. Welch.
So we're going to run this. Kay's going to talk you through the presentation, and then we'll open the floor for any questions that you might have after that. So I'm sure it'll be carnage afterwards because I'm not very sure about what I'm doing, so I'll hand over to somebody who does afterwards. But anyway, over to you, Kay. Okay,
well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming tonight. I know lots of you in my sort of Cardiff East role and other roles that I've done, but tonight I'm in my Wales Squirrels role. Long story of how I ended up in it, because obviously, as somebody who loves doing explorers, it's the natural place. So leading on from all the information that has been out there in the media, we wanted to give you a session where there was a little bit more detail about the content, about how you go forward, how you set it up. So tonight is to try and give an overview of the next steps really as we move along. And now I've got my computer. There we are. So just to recap, Squirrels is really aimed at 4 or 5 year olds. It's really to get those skills in life in where it matters. We know that these young people have been affected greatly by the pandemic. For a lot of them, it's been a third of their lives, and these early years are just so key to forming that base of their education and their life skills. So for Scouting, it seems like not only a challenging time for us to be able to do that, but a great time of opportunity. And I know at the moment it's a significantly busy time for all of us that are holding other Scouting roles. I know coming back this year, we've had so much interest across the board. It's been really difficult to keep up, and we just hope that actually we can ride on the back of that and capitalise that to try and make a success of this section. So when is the right time for Squirrels? Well, like a lot of these things, there's never a completely right time for everything. It can be the roots of a new group. It can be spreading out into a hard to reach area. It can be for group development. It can be if you're missing a section and you want to use the momentum to grow your group across the board. It can bring new people to your team with different skills. It can help you to manage your beaver waiting list. So there's a number of reasons why Squirrels might be the right time for your group. It's going to be slightly different for every group, but those are just some of the reasons why you might be considering it as part of your development plan. So just to go on the back of that, it's a significant volunteering opportunity. It's another meeting in the other room. It's an opportunity to actually recruit new people to your team that might have a slightly different interest. It's about bringing families and parents together to support a new section, so that it's trying to capitalise on bringing volunteers in a different way. It'll be demonstrated across the board nationally as part of the Good For You volunteer campaign, and there was another little video out this week that you can use as well. And we're actually looking at trying to get volunteers across the board by breaking down the tasks and getting people to volunteer in a small way to get them started in Scouting. So these are the badges. So there's, as you would expect, the young people follow the balance programme like every other section. We've got some activity badges. They would do the stage badges the same as any other section. We've got a selection of these badges from Brilliant Builder. There's Be Active. There's Local Superhero, Storytime, Be Wild. Some of them you probably will be able to see quite easily what they are. Some of them a little bit more cryptic. The one with the star and the fireworks is Let's Celebrate. So there's lots of different things that you can bring into that. To get the Chief Scout Acorn, which is the top award, you would need to do all 4 of the Challenge Awards. So those would be the 4 Challenge Awards across the top, and then a minimum of 2 of the activity badges below. So the focus really is trying to get those challenge badges supported by the activity badges. So that would be the focus of the programme. So where to start? Well, it's having the discussions. It's making sure that the group is on board with it, that you've included your exec, and that you've started to look at the headquarters pages, the Trail to Squirrels. There's a lot of information on there, and on there there's a checklist that you need to complete before you kind of take things any further, and that will help you to work out whether your group is in a good position. The checklist isn't for passing or failing, it's the place to start. And if there's areas on the checklist that are a challenge for the group, then that would be somewhere where the district, where the group could work to try and resolve some of those challenges as overall development for the group. So these are some of the things that are on the checklist. It's making sure that the executive is supportive of the project, that the group has a bank account in place with up-to-date accounts. It did tickle me because I thought, gosh, a group without a bank account, that must be tricky. That there's a budget agreed with the group executive, that there's support for the first 2 years of the project, so that you've got kind of a plan for those first two years, that you identify a project lead within the group. That doesn't have to be the person running the Squirrel Dray, but it could be the person that's overseeing it. It could be the GSL, it could be another nominated leader. That you've got a suitable venue and its availability is identified, so you would need to put on that list when you were going to meet and where. Online Scout Manager, I know a tremendous amount of you are already using Online Scout Manager and the parent portal, but it's mandatory with Squirrels, and it's mandatory for a couple of reasons. One of the things that we obviously need to do is, as this project goes forward, we need to ensure that the badges are right, they're aimed at the right place. So what will happen with Squirrels is that we'll be able to monitor through Online Scout Manager which badges are being used, which badges aren't being used, and how the program's coming together. None of the personal information will be visible to anybody beyond your group, just the statistical information about how the badges work, how the program, and what program activities you're using, so that we can have a really good guide to how that program evolves. One of the other stipulations is that the group is claiming gift aid or working towards claiming gift aid, that there's a link with young leaders across the group, and they're supporting their training, and it says a minimum of 2 young leaders needed to be recruited to the section. They're saying to have at least 1 in place, but they're trying to get you to recruit 2. They want all of the groups taken on a Squirrel Dray to be groups that engage with the district and county events where possible, which is a bit of a giggle because we haven't been allowed out for so long, but you know, in principle, that's what we like to do, is get together. We want to make sure that the group is mixed and there's provision for male and female, and that there's clear communications and strategies in place with families, so that we're looking that people use Facebook and websites and how they communicate with the families to start off with, and that plans have been made, they're in place for all youth members to be able to move on to beavers. So it might be that you don't have a beaver colony in your group at the moment, and this might be part of your strategy to build a beaver colony. You'll take in squirrels, you'll hopefully progress those squirrels to beavers and some of the parents into leadership. Or it might be that your group is growing and you know that you need to open a second beaver colony, and that might be the same way that you plan to grow it from squirrels through. Okay, so the next steps, the checklist isn't a pass or fail, but simply a starting point. If there's any of the questions on there that you struggle with or have got a problem with, then that's when, as a district and as an area, we step in to try and give you as much support as possible to try and overcome some of those obstacles. Any group that comes forward that wants to do the checklist is obviously looking to grow and looking to develop, so that's something to support and capitalise on. And once you've completed that, you complete an online expression of interest, which is on the web page, on the headquarters web page, and that'll go through to the district to achieve sign off. So all those people that submitted COVID risk assessments through the smart portal, it's a similar system. It goes through a smart portal and then goes to the GC. I would say that once you've completed your or started to go through your checklist, you put in your expression of interest and then arrange to have an informal chat with your DC before you get to the point of saying to him, it's there, can you sign it off? So that you're kind of on the same page and somebody can walk along with you to that point. As I said, if there's bits on the checklist that are incomplete, then it's down to us then at district level and at area level to be able to step in and help you to achieve those. So, time to start. Well, when you actually get to the point where you're ready to get those little red squirrels through your door, there's a 15-week starter program, which is on the locked squirrel pages, which I like to refer to as the secret squirrel pages, because that's how old I am. So there's lots of bits and pieces on there, but those are only available once you've got a squirrel appointment and a Squirrel Dray set up. All of the program is based on child-led learning, so there's been a significant amount of research and thought gone into the last 3 years with hedgehogs, so that there's a really good foundation that it's been built on. All of the badges focus on participation rather than achievement. So it's about having a go, having a try, getting involved, that sort of thing. It's not about how high you can jump, how fast you can run. It's much more focused on people's individual skills. There's no significant peer leadership roles, so not like you've got a lodge leader or you know, or like patrol leaders. This is about organic leadership, so each child can step up at the time that they feel comfortable. So one child may feel more comfortable leading something that's physical or supporting their peers, and another child might feel more comfortable in a creative environment to support their peers. So we try and let that happen. Each session will have 3 elements. Every activity has a story to introduce the activity, and those stories can be found on the activity finder on the Secret Squirrel pages. The session should really be based on routine, so those young people know what to expect, when and how, right the way through. That doesn't mean to say you can't do something different every now and again, but just so that you've got a pattern which they will feel comfortable with. And there's really everything that you do is based on discovery learning. So some of the activities, I mean, there's a really good wealth of activities there, and I've also got the full hedgehog program as well, and there's you know, a couple of 100 ideas on there, and it is really useful and really easy. The way that it's written, it's very easy for people who've never led a section before, because it gives you all the information what you need and all that sort of stuff. So it has been well thought out. As I said, all the stories linked to the program and badges on the activity finder. Engaging young leaders, so you may already have some young leaders in your group. You might have friends that want to become young leaders. You might have a close link to an Explorer unit where you can go out and seek them. You might have a high school nearby that does a childcare course, or a college that does a childcare course. Then you might reach out to them to see if they want to become part of this project as well. Squirrels will all do an annual community impact project, which will be supported through headquarters, and resources will be given for that. So that'll be fairly self-explanatory, and that links to the local superhero badge as well. And currently there's no plans for young people to have overnights. And there's been questions around family camp and stuff like that. But at the moment, Squirrels will not have nights away residentials. All of that is being worked out for the future, but that's the situation at the moment. So just to let you know a little bit about the ratios. So if you're inside in your regular meeting place or any other indoor venue, so you could be meeting at your headquarters, you might be going to meet with another squirrel group somewhere else, you might be going to visit somewhere else, it would all be classed the same, and that's 1 to 6. If you're outside, it's 1 to 4, and obviously you would need a leader in charge for both of those events, as you would with anything else. You will need to have a minimum of 3 adults per session, and that will need to be 1 adult with a full appointment. You may well have parent rotas, you may have other people working towards appointments, that's fine, but you need to have 1 adult with a full appointment at all times. And the maximum number of young people you can have is 24. So the community impact, as I mentioned there, is linked with a local superhero badge, and also linked in with the Million Hands Partnership. So things that have already been around for a little while, like stuff with Red Cross and canals and water trusts and stuff like that. Those sort of projects will come up, and they will be focused at this age group as something that they can get involved with, and it'll be a sort of micro project in their local community to try and make sure that we're starting off by linking young people in with their surroundings. So once you've been approved, you'll be allocated into a cohort. There will be 10 squirrel drays in a cohort. The dray must be registered on Compass as squirrels. When I say that, when you go into Compass to register one, there's squirrels, hedgehog and early years. At the moment, because we're still transferring people over from the main pilot that happened in England, they can't get rid of those straight away because it would automatically close those pilots. So while those pilots are in transition, those things will still show, but you need to find squirrels when you're putting anybody on. Once you're in a dray and the leadership is encompassed, then you'll be able to get onto the squirrel pages, and you will also be given the access into OSM. OSM is mandatory, but it's OSM that is controlled and run by the Scout Association, not by OSM. and it's slightly different for you to be able to get in, but they will supply you with a video on how to. Okay, so there will be some information on there. Every Squirrel Day will be entitled to a startup grant, and one of the Scouting support officers, it's actually Clem, that's going to be picking this up. Once you've been allocated into a cohort, we'll make contact with you to take that forward. All of the other onboarding and mandatory training will be same as other roles, so people will need to do GDPR, safeguarding, safety, and then Model 1 and Model 3 that have proper names that I can't remember. Tools for the job and something else that I can't remember, and I'm sure somebody else does. So you will need to do all of that. And if you've got volunteers that have come in, you can get people started by linking them with beaver colonies and get them to visit other sections. So you can get them going on their mandatory training and appointments as you would, even if you're not fully open. You don't have to wait till that moment. You can start to link people into the provision in the group so that you can start getting people's induction in, because it's really important that the Squirrel Day is linked to the rest of the group. So that's a golden opportunity for people to get to know the rest of the group and their peers who they'll be supporting each other. Okay, so that's the sort of formal bit of it. I can hand over to Ruth now if you want to, and I can stop sharing that because that's just a picture.
There we go. So this is where you get to flood us with your questions, but not all at once, because we'll go into overload. If you could indicate that, you know, or start speaking, I'm sure we can all manage this. So has anybody got anything really burning straight away that they want to ask? Yes, Sarah.
What drays have you got set up already? Have you got anything set up already?
So at the moment, obviously, it only went live. You could only apply from the 9th of September. So we have one dray that's been opened in Shire Valley, and they opened on the 18th of September because they managed to get into that cohort. Anybody who's applying now, the next lot will all get into the January cohort. I think we've got about 7 expressions of interest that are progressing from Cardiff and the Vale, and I think there's another 6 or 7 that are just not as far, or have said that they want to go on that. So that there is a significant across Wales. My target was to get 15 drays by Easter, and I think we're on 22 that have gone through the portal already. So I feel quite good about that. I was like hoping somebody would want to do it, but it appears that they do. So yeah, but it is a little bit, obviously you have to wait to be allocated into a cohort, so they'll give you a starting date in the next cohort, and the cohorts are made up with people from all over the country. So the idea isn't that you aren't too local with everybody, so that you do get a real mixture and that you get quite a good support, and the cohort coach will actually be somebody who then can bring all that together and help induct the leaders. And particularly if you've got new volunteers, they're ideal to sit in the cohort because they can build those skills with their peers at the same time.
Anyone else? Gosh, you did a good job, Kay. Everyone understood.
It must be that. It must be that. She said hopefully.
Is anybody freaked out and going, oh my goodness, no, we can't do this? Oh, I'll take that as a positive.
I think it's going to be different for every group because there's lots of things to think about finance and accommodation and all of that. In principle, you know, I just about remember setting up beavers and stuff, but it is different. It feels a little bit more, there's a lot more behind this, there's a lot more research, there's a lot more in place. I think there's a lot more structured support. I think people realise that the cohort approach offers so much because you haven't got somebody down the road that's been doing it 5 years. You can go, or can you give me a hand? And can you, you know, it is important that peer support. And I think the fact that a lot of the cohorts are made up of people who are coming into scouting new are finding it a real supportive way to just, you know, exchange ideas across the country. And I think it's a really nice way for us all to link together. I think we've learned a lot over this time when we've all been in lockdown, and as much as we don't want to be in lockdown and we want to be out and about doing things with kids, it's nice to know that we can continue to use some of these methods to just ensure that we support going forward.
I think my concern is getting leaders to actually lead it.
what's happened in 70% of the cases is there's been parents that they've gone out and said, if you want the squirrel dray, then please come and do that. I think I was reading something the other day, nearly all of those parents have then continued either to remain in scouting, either in the squirrel section to move into the group in a leadership role, or to take an exec role. And the idea is to always be bringing parents in at the bottom, because I think sometimes that is a nice way for people to come in with younger children and enjoy scouting together.
Yeah, definitely.
And that it does seem to have worked. I mean, they've been going 2 years in a lot of places, and it really does seem to have worked.